From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Grab a book and hit the trail.
I'm Charles Denny. Healthier living options for some people in rural areas of Tennessee. It's part of a University of Tennessee extension program called Well-Connected Communities. That story coming up on AgDay.
The East Coast battles floodwaters as the West Coast fights high heat. The AgDay weather team is tracking it. And big developments overseas as Russia ends its involvement in the Black Sea grain deal.
I would expect some market impact here.
The long-term impacts right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when the name on the cap matches the power of one's purpose. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We begin with a developing story we're following. Russia halting the Black Sea grain deal. An extension of that deal running out yesterday. The news coming just hours after a blast hit Russia's bridge to Crimea. Russia says the strike was caused by Ukrainian sea drones.
Ultimately, participation in these agreements is a choice. But struggling people everywhere and developing countries don't have a choice. Hundreds of millions of people face hunger and consumers are confronting a global cost of living crisis. And they will pay the price.
AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us. And Michelle, the Russians say its halting of the deal had nothing to do with the attack.
That's right, Clinton. The Kremlin is saying that they're halting the deal because it has not been implemented properly and that they will return to the Black Sea Grain Initiative if the Russian parts of the deal are fulfilled. Although Russia suspended participation in the Black Sea grain deal, the grain exporting union says exports will continue at competitive prices and all contractual obligations of Russian grain exporters will be fulfilled. However, the last ship has reportedly left the Odessa port under the deal.
Turkey was saying, rumoring they might bring their Navy in to escort ships in and out. But at the same time, you also had an attack on the Viterra Odessa terminal. To me, it looks like things are ramping up. It looks like things are going to be very difficult to get ships in and out of there for the next little bit. So I would expect some market impact here.
Other market experts say the trade still thinks there's a chance of getting the deal done, so that's why the markets faded the news Monday.
Right now, people kind of maybe have some suspicions that Russia is still just trying to get more concessions, and that the deal might benefit them. And if they don't let the deal go through, that some of their wheat exports might not actually go through, or that there could be some sanctions on them in wheat.
So there seems to be some doubt the deal is done. Ukraine previously said it has a plan B for exporting grain if the deal ended. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Now here's a quick look at the Black Sea grain deal by the numbers. The UN says total ag cargo has come in at 32.8 million tons since the deal was put in place. More than 50% of the cargo has been corn, 27% wheat. China has been the #1 destination, with Spain and Turkey following. The latest ships were supposed to leave over the weekend from Odessa, both bound for the Netherlands, hauling rapeseed and corn. We're also getting a new look at how crop production is progressing here at home. And conditions have improved a bit. USDA pegging the nation's corn crop at 57% good to excellent. That's up 2% from the previous week. As for soybeans, 55% of the crop is now rated good to excellent. That's up 4% from a week ago. Winter wheat harvest still running behind, now 56% completed compared to the 5-year average of 69%. Flooding remains a big issue right now in the Northeast, continuing through New Hampshire, Vermont, and Pennsylvania. Just look at this high water in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The storm in the county dumped 7 inches of rain within just 45 minutes. Officials declaring a disaster in the county after the storm. Meanwhile, chances for rain are improving in the heartland. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us with an update.
Now, the big story this week, something we talked about last week, is the ridge of high pressure, the heat we'll call it extreme heat, building back down to the south and to the southwest. Near the Four Corners, you see that more of the pink coloring. 111 in Dallas this afternoon, 104 in San Antonio. And yeah, it is summer and it does get hot. But as we've talked about before, the extent of days with this heat makes it dangerous. The triple heat also goes all the way back here towards the west. I'm not expecting a lot of rain into the Four Corners. And as we go into the next couple of days, into tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, you'll see that ridge continues to grow to the northeast, with the heat coming with it. 110 Tulsa, 108 Memphis, 96 in St. Louis. Too hot for any large systems to come through. Any kind of energy is going to have to go up and around the ridge. But overall, this is going to be a week where we're going to be talking more about the heat than the rain chances. Go ahead, take a look at your screen here. Coming in from Iowa. Beautiful shot here. Very latest on this. You can kind of see those clouds off in the distance there. How about that shot, though? Laura sending this one in saying, this is a view she'll never get tired of. We wouldn't either. Looks like a great place to just take a walk and enjoy nature. I'll have more on your forecast in just a bit.
The heat wave in the west is a big concern for producers and for their workers out in the fields. California passed the nation's most stringent heat laws back in 2005. Minnesota, Washington, as well as the U.S. military, they have their own heat stress standards, but the United Farm Workers of America wants a federal heat standard put in place.
We absolutely need OSHA to step up here. We want emergency temporary standards, and we're talking really basic things here. We're talking access to shade, access to water, a right to take a break when needed. These are basic life-saving things that any human being doing physically strenuous activity outdoors in these temperatures would require to survive.
The California rules require water, rest, and shade. Employers are required to provide at least 1 quart of fresh water per worker per hour, and the entire crew must take a mandatory break every 4 hours. The EPA continues to deny small refinery exemptions for oil processors seeking to amend requirements of the renewable fuel standard. Now, this happened late last week. 26 small refinery exemptions, or SREs, were denied by the EPA. The applications were for the years 2016 to 2018 and 2021 to 2023. The refiners were seeking exemptions from biofuel blending requirements under that renewable fuel standard. Now, the Renewable Fuels Association applauding the EPA for denying the requests, saying the actions remain consistent with the 10th Circuit Court's decision from back in January of 2020. That decision said small refinery exemptions may only be granted when a small refinery's hardship is caused by the RFS program itself. Also in Louisiana, investigations continue into several explosions and a fire at the Dow chemical plant just south of Baton Rouge. It happened late Friday night. Nobody was injured. The explosion felt several miles away. It did force a shelter-in-place order and stop traffic for several hours. The explosion's happening at the unit that makes and handles ethylene oxide. Now, the American Chemistry Council says ethylene oxide is a critical building block for U.S. agriculture, and it's commonly used to produce a wide variety of active ingredients for insecticides, pesticides, and herbicides. Grain markets fade on Monday despite weather threats and the end of the Ukrainian grain deal. We'll have details coming up next in analysis. And later, we're off to Tennessee, where kids are helping to connect fun stories with good exercise in the country.
Ag Day is brought to you by Farm Shop MFG. Did you know that 20% of stored corn is often overventilated by 3 points of moisture? On 100,000 bushels, that's a whole semi-load. Stop this problem for less with the End Zone for Corn by Farm Shop MFG. Specially priced at $2,100 per unit while supplies last.
Well, livestock producers may not be happy with the rise in the sale of cell-cultured meat. It may be better news for soybean growers. Purdue University's Agriculture Department publishing a paper. In it, researchers predict the demand for soybean consumption will rise due to the availability of meat substitutes or plant-based meats. Now, that paper detailing that during the lab production of cell-cultured meat, soybeans can be the primary source for the protein to help the cells grow into meat. The researchers say the soybean to cell-cultured meat ratio is high, and that's why they believe lab-cultured meat could create a high demand for soybeans. But they add that there are concerns about higher prices and the taste and appeal of cell-cultured meat that could factor in. Corn and wheat sinking on Monday while soybeans saw some support. Michelle Rook is back with Markets Now.
A mixed close in the grains on Monday. Brian Grady, editor of Pro Farmer, is joining us. And Brian, let's talk about corn and wheat futures setting back, even though there was some uncertainty about whether the Black Sea Grain Initiative is actually going to be extended or whether it is a deal that's over with. Did the trade kind of doubt that, or did we just see some profit taking that pulled us back?
Well, a little bit of both. So we saw a firmer trade overnight when the news came out that Russia officially backed out of the deal. They left the door open to extending it if they get some of their demands met. And so I think that helped during daytime trade to pull the market back on some corrective selling and those types of things. We'll have to see. This is going to be kind of back and forth, I think, as we move forward over the next couple of days and probably the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, but we also ran up into some chart resistance, probably saw a little profit taking off those highs too, you think?
Absolutely. I think so. We've had nice moves up in both of those markets, not to the degree that we've seen in soybeans, but, I think that whenever you get to these types of moves, the technicals do matter. And when you stop at critical levels, you're likely to face some selling. On the flip side, when you stop at some critical levels of support, you're probably likely to find some buyer interest too.
Yeah. So soybeans did manage to hold on to gains with the help from the meal market, but is that market also still trading weather and dryness concerns?
Yeah, I think so. The forecast for the next couple weeks indicate that the northern third of the Corn Belt is going to be mostly dry. But that isn't really the factor, I don't think, as much as the heat that is expected to build late this week and through next week. And so knowing that the critical time frame for soybeans lies ahead, I think the soybean market is more responsive at this point in time to the weather issues. And just when you look across the Corn Belt, anecdotally, most producers will tell you that the soybeans don't look as good as the corn does right now.
We don't have a ton of wiggle room here. So do you think we'll get eventually back above that $14 mark in the November beans?
Well, unless something changes weather-wise over the next couple of weeks with that heat building and dryness over the northern third of the Corn Belt, I do think that they'll make a run at that level. That's critical, and then the technicals come into play at that point.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Brian Grady with Pro Farmer. That is Markets Now, and we'll have more AgDay coming up.
Registration is open for the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour, August 21st through the 24th. Attend one of our nightly meetings or join online as we gain insight on the 2023 growing season. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
Look at the precipitation forecast for this week, and as we talked about, the extreme heat is going to be down to the south, the triple-digit heat. Up north, where we get that dividing line, as we fill this map in, the dividing line between the heat and also the cool air is where we have the best chance of some heavy downpours, and that's why we stretch this from the northwest down here to the southeast, including Illinois, Indiana, even into Kentucky, kind of into Tennessee as well. A big gap, though, as you go south of that line and go north, more hit or miss type showers. Because of that ridge, most of the energy is going to be focused right on the outside of that high pressure. Different way to look at it, let's look at the jet stream coming up for your Tuesday. There's your ridge. That is the heat dome. You're going to hear a lot about this week. In between the heat and that cooler air in the jet stream is right where I have the best chance of rain going forward. And when I say best chance of rain, I'm not talking about pop-up afternoon showers or thunderstorms. What I'm referring to is more widespread chances of some heavier downpours. So here we go. This is Tuesday at 3 p.m. You got the cloud cover. You also have the rain. As we go through our Wednesday and into our Thursday, you kind of see the same showers trend over the same location, including the southern part of Illinois, Indiana, and the northern part of Tennessee, and possibly a little bit into Kentucky and Ohio as well. With Texas, Oklahoma, into Louisiana, staying dry and hot. Again, there's Thursday at 8 a.m. We don't have much up here, and we don't have a lot down there regarding rain because of that ridge and that energy having to come up and over. You can hear me say that a lot this week with the kind of pattern that we are in. This is Friday at 11 a.m. We're going to try to shift things around, but a ridge like what we are seeing It has a very tough time breaking down. So it's not a day or 2 day pattern. This is a 5, 6, 7 day pattern where if you're dry Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there's a good chance you're also going to stay dry Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's talk about Boone, Iowa. Cloudy, high around 76 degrees, low of 59. North Dakota, partly cloudy, high around 84, low of 56. And then Athens, Tennessee, mostly sunny, hot, high around 90 for your day.
Milk price forecasts continue to tumble. We've got the latest numbers coming up next. And later, it's story time. See how a community is connecting reading and exercise for everyone to enjoy in the country. Lower milk prices are continuing to be the story for the dairy industry, and USDA is predicting they will continue for a while. Forecasters once again cutting this year's all milk price projections in the latest supply and demand report, dropping the price 40 cents to $19.55 per hundredweight. For 2023, milk production projections were left unchanged from last month, ending at 228.4 billion pounds. Now, if that's realized, milk production for the year would be up just a fraction compared to last year. The 2024 milk production forecast was lowered by 200 million pounds to just over 230 billion. Now that's due to lower dairy cow inventories and slower growth in milk per cow. Butter prices did get a bit of a boost for this year, while cheese, dry whey, and non-fat dry milk prices all took a negative hit. New England is a big area for dairy production, and with those recent floods, many producers were concerned they would have to dump milk. Well, Vermont's ag leader says despite historic flooding, losses were kept to a minimum. The Vermont Digger reporting despite having roads damaged across the state, E.B. Flory of the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food and Market says most of what farmers produced made it to a processing facility. Now, they say haulers and dispatchers worked together to communicate which roads in the state were creating the greatest problems. Those roads were then put on a priority list for the Agency of Transportation to address. One agency, milk inspector, would even go ahead in his car to the next farm scheduled for pickup in order to scout out the best route. Other inspectors then did it around the state. Spending quality time outdoors is a good start to a healthy life. We'll see how some 4-H and FFA kids in Tennessee are building creative ways to hear a story, get some exercise, and spend time together in the country. A project to improve the health of people in rural areas of Tennessee is about more than medicine. It includes gardens, walking trails, and opportunities to learn. The University of Tennessee's Charles Denny tells us about a program that's improving on what is already in the community.
Crossing a bridge to learning and good health. With each step, a story unfolds. These youngsters are circling the new storybook trail at this park near the Meigs County Fairgrounds, reading along the way. It's a tale and a tour put together by a local coalition, including UT Extension.
Our story is going to change out hopefully every month. We have a list of right now of free to use books. We started with a book. It's kind of set to an Appalachian kind of poem. It does some counting and has some animals involved.
And when it comes to involvement, local FFA and 4-H youth largely made the storybook trail happen. Both the placards and the idea. A learning and exercise option to help all ages.
And things like the storybook trail really provide that opportunity for youth and for adults in the community. You know, you may have a parent with their child walking around the storybook trail, and that helps both get some physical activity.
And so if the kids wanted to read this and thought it was pretty cool, then the parents would be encouraged to get out more and start walking.
The trail is part of a bigger project with UT Extension called Well-Connected Communities. It's to engage local partnerships, identify needs, and enhance area resources.
Some of the impacts are that we have been able to work with partners, even in small rural areas, to really capitalize on the resources that are already available, natural space.
Here's good use of space, a new native plants garden in Grundy County, also part of Well-Connected Communities.
Part of the goal of this garden is to help individuals understand that they have food growing in their backyard.
Whether we're gardening or walking and reading, this project has good intentions and solid future plans. If it's well connected, it's also well deserved. This is Charles Denny reporting.
All right, thanks, Charles, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Cliff Griffiths. Have a good day.